Alright, so let's continue. Now in this part, we will be working on adding the total amount field to each order that we have in the orders sheet. Now in other words, it means that we're gonna have a new column by the name of total amount, which will contain all the total amount of each respective order. Well, not only that, now that I think of it, we should also be showing the total amount of each individual item, as in this particular one, which has a quantity of 2, maybe within equals to, and something like this. We should take care of it. And yeah, we're gonna do that, but again, a step at a time. So the very first thing that we need to do, let's head back to the editor, and within the new order API that we have, let's take a look at what we are doing. So we are getting some data from the request body, which we are saving in the database along with the created at, but after validating the data, pretty obvious, we are saving it, right? So at the time of saving it to the database, we should also be adding another field by the name of total amount, and also the amount of each item, because we need that for the cart, like for the items in the cart. You do get the point. But the very first thing that we need to have is the total amount, right? And in order to get the total amount, we have it on the client side. As you can see, we already have the logic, but the question is, can we really trust the data coming from the client side? Can we really trust the total amount and save it directly in the database? Obviously we cannot. We didn't even trust the user for their, for the email or even the full name. So how come we can trust them for the total amount, which is a very crucial part of the entire thing? So obviously we need to validate that. We need to verify the total amount, and for that we need to have access to the database, which in this case is the items sheet. And now that I think of it, we don't even have to pass down the total amount or even the amount of individual order. We can skip that part on the client side and do the calculation and all of that right in the server side, right over here. So first thing first, we need to have the access to the sheet and get all the books. And we are already doing that. If you remember that within the home page, the index in the pages directory, we are getting the authenticated client, we have the authorized sheets object, and we are making use of it to get all the books, which we are then formatting and sending it back to the page. So instead of copying the entire thing that we have, we can create a utility function which could be easily be used over here in the index as well as in the new order. And that utility function will be responsible to give us back all the books formatted in the formatted way. So let's do that. Firstly, in the root of our project, we are going to create a new folder by the name of utils, and in here let's create a new file by the name of gsheets, which will contain all the utility functions related to the Google Sheets. So over here, let's export const and let's create a function called getBooks, which is going to be an async function for obvious reasons. And over here, we can move the entire thing from the entire logic that we have right over here. And it also means that we need to get the Google, we need to move this as well right at the top, right? And 1 second, and now something is not right, because we have to return back the formatted items. Pretty obvious. Yep, that's the reason. So we have export const books and the entire thing. How come it's not formatted? Seems like there is some issue, I guess. Get books. I don't know why. Get G sheets. Yep. Anyway, so let's actually import this function, and maybe then we will get to know Oh, now I know that, because this thing is causing the, like, this thing is the problem, and because of it the rest of the files are not getting formatted. So maybe let's actually fix it out. We can get all the books by awaiting the request after calling this method, and we need to pass it down. Well, actually the key and the value are the same, so we don't have to do it explicitly, and it's going to work perfectly fine. Let's give it a shot. Refresh. I'm pretty sure it's going to throw some error. Yep. Wait, I thought we already, oh man. You're kidding me. Nice. Not nice. Anyway, so now that we have it fixed, now the other thing is, I just remembered that in the confirm order right over here, we are making use of the same authenticated client, as you can see, which we have over here. So let's do one thing. Let's move this thing to a function of its own, right? So we can give it a name as get what should, let's see, get auth sheet, no, g sheet, I guess. Get auth g sheet, and this function again is going to be an async function. And I know I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. Everything is transparent, so things might happen. Like, whatever you're watching, it's completely raw, so that's how things work sometimes. Anyway, so now that we have this function, we can call it up right over here, which will give us get auth g sheets. I think that should be the name. Get authenticated, or maybe just sheets. Let's just keep it g sheets. Get auth g sheets. So this function is responsible for giving back the authenticated client of sheets, which will further be used to get or add values. So we can make use of the same thing in the confirm order right over here. Instead of all this, we can get the sheets and call this function, await the request. We need to import it in such a way. And hold up a second. Yep, that's fine. Now what we need to do, getting back to the g sheets, now that we have the function and we are calling it right over here, so if we refresh and if everything works fine, which it didn't, values of undefined. So now we actually need to fix one thing. Yep, we need to await the request. Pretty obvious. So now if we save it and if we take a look, like if everything works fine, perfect. So now we need to call the same function, the get books one that we just created in the new orders, so that we can get all the books from the database, like from the sheet. So right over here, I'm going to call it books, await the call in such a way. And just for the time being, I'm going to return it back as a JSON right over here. So if we just save it and we are returning back a JSON. So let's actually open up the network tab right over here, and let's place an order real quick. So if we make the request, there it is, it's successful, and in the preview we can see the response. So that is good, like we are getting back all the books, so that's great. So that is done. Actually, we didn't even have to do all of this. We could have just kind of moved this part right over here and made a get request. Anyway, so I'm just gonna keep it the way that it is. So now that we have the books, like this books is an array containing all the books as book object, as you can see. So we need to map the values. So this being the name, let me just quickly fix this thing. How come I didn't fix it? Anyway, so this being the name, we can, like, we need to map it down. Like we need to map the values of the like the items in the cart and get the price of each item, and then we need to calculate. So let's do that in the next part, because I can sense the video lagging and I just don't want to take any chance. Anyway, so see you in the next one. Again, thank you.